to give thanks to the Lord for the opportunity of us gathering here this morning in His name to glorify Him. And I'd like to thank the invitation, the special invitation to be here. I'm going to read to you from 1 Timothy 4:1. And it says, "The Spirit tells us clearly that in the last days some will defect from the faith and follow deceitful spirits and devilish doctrines, led by lying hypocrites whose conscience has been branded with the stamp of infamy. These persons forbid marriage and condemn the use of certain foods, which God created for those who know the truth, and which the believers receive with thanksgiving. Everything created by God is good, and all food is lawful. Nothing is to be rejected if we receive it with thanksgiving, for it is blessed with the word of God and prayer and made holy. If you explain these things to the brothers and sisters, you will prove to be a good servant of Christ Jesus, nourished by the teachings of faith and the sound doctrine which you have followed. Reject irreligious fables and old wives' tales. Train yourself in godliness. Physical training is of limited value. Godliness instead is useful in every way, holding promise for the present life and for the life to come. Here you have a sure doctrine you can trust. We toil and endure because we trust in the living God, the Savior of all, especially of those who believe." So this morning we gather here to have this moment with the Lord. And when we get together like we are, we bring our hearts together. And the intention that we really have is to be able to make it one. Because that is the precious way of being overpowered by the Holy Spirit. That the Holy Spirit will overflow those gifts on us if we unite in one heart. And that is the challenge. Because we could come to gather like this, and then we will bring an individual attention that is focused on self and is focused on what is here for me. And is there anything for me here? And that will not take you anywhere. And it will not make you part of a body. It will keep you individually participating in something you are not going to get. So, and also you're stopping others from getting more. Because if you bring yourself and make yourself a unity in one heart among all of us, then we have the lion's share of what God has for us in store. Because of the love for one another. And that is the condition of love. That is the condition of God among us. That we love one another. So usually the experience of God in communities is a very limited one because people bring themselves and stay on their own while they participate in together. And then there is not a real spiritual unity. There is only a religious gathering. And that takes one nowhere because you leave as empty as you came. And the unity of the heart, when we bring our hearts together to make it one with one another, is the anointing of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the one that unites us and brings us into one body together. So being together is about participating together in one spirit, so that the Spirit of God becomes the only presence. And that only presence of God reunites us from the scattered state of mind and soul and spirit that we are because of the world, because of the life we live in the world, in the material world. We are scattered. No matter what we do, we find ourselves scattered everywhere. Because that is the world we live, a limited world. A world that is very confused, is filled with information and emotions and senses that are all earthly. And when we get together like this, the Lord calls us to give us a relief, a moment of reflection, a spiritual moment where we can let go of all of that and become solid in oneness with God by becoming one among us. So the first step is to become one among us. So that way you bring in what you have to bring in. The investment at this moment is to bring yourself and let it be one with everybody else. And I know that we speak probably a lot about this, but how much of this do we do? That, to the point where we can be here and you can forget about self and be one with the others without letting yourself be divided by anything. Because we are divided by too many things. By ideologies, philosophies, cultures, traditions, education, politics, economics, so many things. And when we are able to become so little that we can be part of everybody else's without letting anything get in the way of me loving everybody, then we are able to let this whole anointing of the Spirit land on us. And I think that is the invitation, to unite our hearts together this morning, so that the Holy Spirit can come and heal us and relieve us. Because you see, the relief that we need is just to be able to be those instruments of love. Because if the love of God is able to flow through us, we will be healed from anything. It's very easy for us, humanly, to dwell in the past, to dwell in the wounds, to dwell in our memories, to dwell in all the frustrations and fears and anxieties that we have because of our short history. We have a very short life, and it seems to be sometimes that it's long when we are aching, when things are difficult, and when we are having fun and things are good, it flies by. Seems like a dream, a quick dream. But at the end, life is short anyways. And we have a story, each one of us. We have scars of time. But God is calling us not to dwell in any of that. It's not about how wounded I am and what life has inflicted upon me, my story. It's about God. It's about God making things new. And He can make us new anytime, because He makes everything new every instant. Nothing is the same from one instant to the other. Things change. When you stare at a big river, a deep river, it seems as if it has no current. It seems as if it is not moving. It's like almost like a still. But if you dive into the river, it has a strong current. And it's moving really strongly and fast. But it doesn't appear to be moving. And this is what we need to know. We have to enter the state of the eternal presence of God in order not to dwell in times that are not real, like the past is not real. And we cannot carry that, because the Lord is teaching us to carry our responsibilities. You see, a pilot is not to concentrate on the last flight. It's to concentrate on that present flight, because otherwise you crash. You have to, a soldier is not to concentrate in the last battle or the next battle. It's to concentrate on the present battle in the front lines, otherwise he's shot and killed. So, and it's a principle, and it's a natural principle. Spiritually speaking, it's the same principle. We are not to focus on the last battle. We are not to focus on whatever is coming up. We have to focus on what we're doing now. And that is what counts. If we want to be good pilots, if you want to be good soldiers, if you want to be useful, alert, and faithful. So the unity of the hearts is what we need. If wherever you go, you have to unite your heart with everybody, even if you don't know them. It doesn't matter. Because you see, when you witness the martyrdom of Saint Stephen, he is being stoned to death. And people saw his face as an angel, all of the ones that were there. Even though they killed him, they testify his face was like the face of an angel. When he was speaking to the Sanhedrin, and later when he was being stoned, he looked like an angel. And he was looking up to heaven and saying, Father, do not charge them with this crime. So he became Christ-like completely. That's what Jesus said when he was dying. Same thing, he became another Christ. And what happened with Saint Stephen? He became one with everybody, even with his enemies. Became one. One heart of love. So if we learn to become one, when you are, wherever you are, at home, at work, anywhere in the street, wherever you are, and you become one with everybody, you will be alive. You will be a real human being that lives within the Spirit of God. Because if you are only that individual that is carrying your little worries, your little concerns, or your little goals, your little want and desire, your little plan, your little agenda everywhere, you never participate in anything, and you're not in the Spirit of God, because you're only about you. That's all you're doing, taking your little you everywhere. You're going nowhere, because you're getting nothing from the river of life. Nothing. So it's very important to become one with God and live within that spirit of being one with everybody, regardless of who they are. Because even if they hate you, even if whatever they do to you, you should be one with them. You should be one with them. It's like, Father, do not charge them with this crime. They going against you. Forgive them and pray for them. I know that what I'm preaching is the reason why Jesus was stunned. What Jesus was persecuted and slandered and persecuted by his own people, because they thought this doesn't make sense. How could you just love everybody and forgive everybody and be for everybody when people are not for you? When they're trying to destroy you, when people hate you, when they are deceitful, when they are envious, when all they want is to destroy you. How could I love them? How could I forgive them? It's absurd. That's the reason Jesus' words were a scandal to people, because the Jews, the most faithful ones, like the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they were expecting a Jesus that will come to straighten up everybody, and then to call everybody into account and say, hey, we are going to judge you, and you are to obey. And he did the opposite. So it becomes a scandal. And then we are so conditioned to do the opposite, to be this little self that is always in this little agenda, that when someone comes and tells you, oh, the only way to be of God is to let go of the little you that is roaming around doing the little you life. So let go of that, and then that is like a threat. You begin to hate and say, how dare he? He's telling me to let go of something I worked all my life on. I've been working on myself, and I've been trying to gain strength from everything I accumulated of knowledge and means of survival and my ideas of putting together a life that will have some meaning and some sense of direction. And now you come and tell me to let it go, and that is not worth it, and that is useless. I mean, how dare you? And you see, that's what faith is so difficult to embrace in its fullness, because it threatens everything we are made of, everything we are built on, and it's very difficult to let go of that building. But the truth is, it is the only way to know God. It's when we let go and become one with God and are able to become one with everybody. Because the first step to go into the oneness with God is to learn to be one with one another. That's the first step. That's why the gospel says, how could you love me if you cannot see me, when you don't love your brother that you can see? See, and we have to understand. So the only way I could walk and climb the ladder up to God is if I go step by step. And the first step to begin climbing the ladder up to heaven is to learn how to love those that I can see, those that are around me, beside me, those that flow around me. And that is everybody. And sometimes this becomes like an old sermon. We hear from the pulpit on Sunday Mass in the gospel, love one another, forgive one another as I love you, as I have loved you. And we hear that so many times. So it becomes like a mother saying, hey, straighten up your room. Hey, you come on, be tidy. And so it becomes like a music that you hear, but you don't listen to, right? So then you don't do anything about it, but you know it and you hear it time and time again. So there comes a time when life becomes very serious as far as really considering the reality that things could be over. I mean, my life could end, and it's a reality. Sometimes people have to be sick and terminally ill in order to understand that. And sometimes you see terminally ill people that still do not accept they could die. And they still clinging for a miracle, doing this. It's good to have faith. Nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with me being sick and believing that Jesus can heal me. That's great, because that is faith. But what is wrong is to for sure think that I'm not going to die. That is wrong. Because that is taking for granted something that you should not take for granted. You should say, yes, the Lord can heal me if He wants to. But if He doesn't want to, He won't heal me and I will die. So that has to be clear. But some people fall into some kind of illusions where they are so sure they're going to be healed. And I don't think that is the faith God is calling us to have. Because you see, the example of the gospel of Jesus healing the sick on the road, on the side of the road, is those that came to Jesus and said, Lord, if you want, heal me. If you want. So they left themselves behind and say, maybe He doesn't want to. So it's like they weren't 100% sure. Oh, there He comes. That's Jesus. I'm healed. No, they didn't say that. They came so humbly before the Lord and said, if you want to, heal me. So they didn't take it for granted. That's being humble. So you find some people that think that faith is taking it for granted. And you know, there is a type of Christianity today that works like that. Most of the Christianity of the Reformation preaches like that. Take it for granted. You're saved already. You are healed. If you're a son of God, the blood of God in Jesus, the blood of Jesus heal you already. Take it for granted. Get up and walk. You know, it's like, but you see, if God wants to, that will happen. But if He doesn't want to, that won't happen. Regardless if you say get up and walk, you won't walk. Because if Jesus doesn't want to, if God doesn't want to, you're not going to make it. And we have to be humble. You know, we have to be really humble and understand that I come to Jesus and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy of me. And I'm not going to come and say, Jesus, Son of David, thank you for healing me. No. It's like I have to first come to the Lord and glorify Him. And thank Him for being there. And thank Him for being the God that created me. But the rest is up to God. It's not up to me to take it for granted that He healed me already. So we know that there is a fine line there. Because some people say, how couldn't you trust that the Lord is going to heal you? And they might misinterpret what I'm saying. But I'm sure you know what I mean and what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to bring our hearts to a position where being part of the same body, still know that there is a head. You see, there is a head in the body. And that head runs the whole body. And that head is called Christ. So we depend on the head to take decisions, even though I am a cell of the body. But if that head is not taking the decisions that I want, I have to still let it flow through me. And that's what happens. I have to be a cell that is unconditional. And then when we don't become unconditional, we are a cell that is clogged. And we don't let that flow go through. We become individuals. We become islands. And we don't let the love of God flow. And that is the danger of today's world. That we are built individually and we are like islands. And that's why it's so simple and so easy to be selfish. And it's natural because it's the most common attitude, the most common psychology in today's world. You see it in your family. Everybody is an institution. Everybody is an entity. Everybody is like an edifice, a construction. And it's a big building and you have to be careful. Because they might not like this and this. You might enter rooms you're not allowed. You might stand at a door you're not supposed to. And everybody has so many rules and conditions of self. That it's like institutions, like big organizations. It's like a corporate mind and world where you have to pay for everything. And they charge you for standing somewhere. And that is the way we live the life today. We charge by the minute. See, everything costs. My time is precious. I charge for it. My attention is precious. I charge for it. I don't want to listen. I have no time. And if I listen, you have to pay. And that is the way we live. And we don't even notice that we are like that. We don't notice. Sometimes you go and help somebody and you have a taximeter going. It's clicking. And then you have a dime going on for every minute you're there. Because you're charging. You don't even know it, but you're charging. You know it's costly to go and give. And you know you are doing something for somebody, and you are, in your inner self, you're charging for that. Because you know, you feel the time you're giving. When you go to do something for somebody that is not important in your life, it hurts because it's like a time that feels like it's wasted because it's not producing anything. There is no profit there. So then you feel like it's difficult to do it because it's something that is not important for you. When you hear about something that is attractive and productive and effective, you run and you do it and you are filled with joy. Just euphoria, because that's what it is. Joy only comes from God. But that kind of human euphoria that gives you the emotions of gaining, benefiting from something. And this selfish life is a destructive life because at the end of the day, it's like a rush, it's like a drug, and then you have withdrawals. And then you go at the end, and regardless of how much you were participating so emotionally in so many things during the day, at the end of the day, you are completely withdrawn. You are so empty because you don't have anything holding in your hand because you didn't love at all the whole day. You just went for yourself, for your little individual. You went to take your big building around, to build it even harder and taller. And that's what you did. Augment your construction all day. So therefore, it's like living in a big building that is so lonely because you are bigger every day and more lonelier because the space is bigger and you are not able to fill it with yourself, with your inner self, because you have nothing to give. You're living in an empty space. It's like seeing a very wealthy man in a castle that has no friends. And everyone is just wanting the money, but not wanting his friendship. And he knows nobody loves him. They only come there for his money and his power. And he's there alone in a big castle with many rooms and very luxurious and with so much abundance. But there is no love. There is nothing real there. It's emptiness and loneliness. And that's what individuality and selfishness produces and gives you. That's why you see all these lonely people everywhere. Wherever you go, you see all these individuals. Some of them are really groomed, and they look very good because they are very groomed and manicured. But at the end, you look at their eyes, and they are lonely. They are empty. They have nothing inside because they are just these big individuals. So it's very good to be together like we are today because we have the opportunity to expand this littleness into one heart and bring it into God so that we can be fed by the Spirit of the Lord and strengthened by the Spirit of the Lord to the point where we can get out of here and be able to connect with everybody else in a different way, in a closer way and in God's way. And that way we receive this healthy life where love will flow because we're letting it flow, not because we're expecting it to flow to us, because we are letting it flow through us. And we are not anymore expecting to receive. We are only concentrated on giving, on letting the flow of God go through us. And that changes everything. Because you're not anymore the one standing somewhere waiting for an opportunity in your life. Waiting for things to be resolved. Waiting for things to finally click. And then have a life. Because so many things in life appear not to work. And then we appear to be frustrated. And sometimes we think something is wrong with us. Some people even think they are possessed because there are so many bad things happening. And at the end of the day, if you really think about what the reality is that many things that you want are not good for you. And God doesn't want them in your life, and that's why you don't get them. And maybe what you have to change is your way of thinking and your way of wanting and desiring things in life, because maybe you are focused in the wrong direction. And that's why you don't get anything, because everything you want is not good. And then God doesn't want to give it to you, and you still are upset because you insist to go in that direction. So you will be frustrated the rest of your life. It's like when you fall in love with somebody that doesn't love you. And you're expecting that person to fall in love with you and marry you. And you're always there in love, and that person is not corresponding. What are you doing? You see, you cannot fool yourself and keep on loving someone that is not corresponding. Because that will be going against the flow. And then wanting something that is not yours, that is not for you. And that's what happens to a lot of people, dreamers, that end up in an elusive life. And then they keep on insisting on goals that are not possible because God doesn't want to give them to you. And then you are a frustrated human being because you always try to do things that are not for you. And it's very easy because that's when you are led by want and desire only, but not by the Spirit. Because the Spirit is above want and desire. The Spirit is above all of that and is about wisdom. It's about the will of God in the simplicity of destiny. The word destiny could be confusing because we have pagan philosophies that speak about destiny. We have Gnostics, and we have a lot of ideologies and religions that speak about destiny. So it could be a little strange, and we have to be careful about this. The word destiny in our Christian language means God's will. It's very different. See, destiny, Christian destiny means I'm walking with God. And that means if I'm walking with God, I'm perfectly walking. Because God is a perfect walk. God is going to lead me right. God is going to lead me perfectly. So if I am with God, I have a destiny. Because my destiny is God. So I have a perfect destiny. And God has already created everything. Therefore, He has already created my way, my path. So that is a way of seeing destiny as a Christian. It's not that destiny in my life is the destiny pagans talk about or the destiny Gnostics talk about. It's the destiny that God gives us by us being of His, by us being faithful. Meaning He has created everything already since time and time before, since eternity. So we are created already, we exist in Him, and He already knows. He always knows. We don't know. So for us to be within that knowledge of God, in that eternal present where everything is created, including us, past, present, and future of us and everything, we just have to be with Him, within Him, for Him, in obedience to Him. And then everything is within that presence of God where everything is created. And that gives us peace. Because it's like a child that is outside the home. It's venturing outside. And it's kind of exciting, but at the same time insecure. A little insecure. Go like this and doesn't dare to go any farther. Looks there, everything looks strange, foreign. It's not familiar. You don't quite know how to do things around. So the tendency you have as a child is look around and go back home. When you go back inside your house, oh, everything is fine again. You feel safe, you can run, everything is familiar, nothing is threatening. And that's what is happening with us and God and the world. When we are out in the world, things are an adventure. You go here and there. You go after tastes, after smells, after things. You go after your senses. But then you know sometimes things are wrong direction. You still go. Like the little puppy that goes and burns itself with a fire and then jumps out and discovers fire. And sometimes they come back and do it again. Very few times. Animals seems to be smarter than us many times, you know. But the thing is that we do things like that. And God's home, the Spirit of God is that safety. We come back home and we are safe. It's like me, as a fallen away Catholic for 33 years. I remember all the years I was out in the world and apparently succeeding because I was getting what the world was giving me, and I got a lot, you know, money and fame and opportunities to taste anything I wanted. And I remember now being in the house of God, inside God. I remember now what my heart was like when I was out in the world. And I was a miserable human being. Just that I didn't know it because I didn't know otherwise. I had no remembrance, no memory of what is it to be of God. What is the peace of God? I didn't know. So I couldn't compare it. But today I am able to compare it. I say, wow, what a difference. When I was out there, I was supposed to have everything. I was enjoying everything the world has to offer. But I was a wreck. I was so miserable. I was like a roller coaster. I was up and down. Today I was so happy. Tomorrow I was so miserable. And it will change by the hour sometimes. It was nothing was stable. Everything was changing all the time. And in life was like, it was a strange river flow. It was very strange. And but I didn't quite knew what it was. What was causing that? I thought that is life. But today I know why. Because I didn't have God. And I was in the world. And the world was running me. I wasn't running anything. I was just a slave of the spirit that roamed the earth. And they are the ones that were running me because I didn't belong to God. Today, I'm not exactly the holiest person on earth. But all I want is to strive for that holiness every day. And it's a struggle, it's a battle. Because you have to fight with so many elements, beginning with self. That is the toughest one. Because you're the one that has the last decision. The last move you have. So you have to struggle with that every day. But trusting in God, that God is with you. And that if you trust in God, you have God on your side. And the fight becomes possible. You are able to overcome a lot of obstacles, and you're able to see the growth, the spiritual growth, how you begin to change as a human being, how you begin to become a better person, because you begin to have time to listen, you begin to feel for others, you begin to observe life quietly and take your time to look around before you move, and so many other things. You think before you talk, before you speak. And many things like that you never did. You only did when it was convenient, but you didn't do it because you thought it was good to do. You just did it when it was profitable. You were able to listen when it was something for you to gain. If you're going to gain something, you listen. Because you're going to learn what they're going to say. You can use it and make something out of that. But you were not able to listen unconditionally. Like sometimes in our lives, a person comes along that brings in this old monologue, right? And you know what they're going to tell you. They tell you the same thing for hours. And then if you are not really spiritual, if you're not of God, you have no patience. You probably tell that person off, and you're not going to be sitting there listening to something you know what it is, and you heard so many times. And you know if you tell that person, whatever you tell that person, it's not going to listen, and it's not going to follow your advice. So it's like a waste of time. But when you are with God, it's no longer a waste of time. Because it's about love. That person is only looking for attention. So you don't pay attention to the monologue. You just pay attention to the heart that is aching and needing company. So you just don't let yourself be bothered by the monologue. You just give love to a person that needs attention. Things change. Before you were just upset about, oh, there she comes, Lucy, again, with all the stories again. Same thing all over again. And oh, what am I going to do? She drives me insane. And that's the most amazing thing. You know, we all go through that. But you see, God changes you around, because when you grow and you become a better human being, it's not about Lucy's monologue anymore. It's about Lucy's heart. It's, I want to love Lucy unconditionally. Even though she comes and gives me the same stories again and all of that, still I love her. You know, it's, oh yes, bless her heart. You know, she annoys me, but I love her. And I'm going to give her time. I'm going to give her a quality time. The same time I'm going to give to someone that entertains me, that is pleasant, and that also brings me good news of even profits, you know. So, but I'm going to do the same. And those things are great, because that's when you know you're growing spiritually. Because you are beginning to do things not because you are going to profit, but do things just because you know they are good to do. Because it's goodness, because God wants you to do that. Because God wants you to be one with everybody. And that's the only way to grow and to heal yourself. And to become a child of God that lives within the joy of God, in the hope of God, in that beautiful existence where you know that you are important to everyone and everyone is important to you. And that becomes joyful, a joyful life, a beautiful life. And then you are not any longer sorry about anything, about anybody, and much less about self. You're not carrying that brokenness around, that wounded heart, You are bringing in a child of God that is made new every day. Regardless of yesterday, regardless of what took place an hour ago, God will make you new right now. I'm going back to the river. If you stand at the river shore and you see the water flow, you know it is the same water, but it's not the same drops. You know, they change, they move constantly. So it's constantly moving. If you will be able to look at your skin and your blood cells and all of that with a magnifying instrument, you will notice how everything is changing constantly. The cells are not the same, even though they are located in one spot, but they constantly change in shape and changing chemical factors and changing colors and changing everything. Only that we cannot see it. And everything with the air and the sun. The sun is not exactly what we see, but it's like molecular, and it floats, and there are particles of the sunshine. And all of this, and we cannot see that, but it's like that. When you are in the spiritual world and you look at the material world, all you see is cells floating. You don't see a compacted matter like we see when we are inside the matter. And that's why spirits, when they come, they don't see a compacted body, they see a molecular body. And then the spirits, like the spirits of evil, they are the ones that hurt your molecular life in order to infect you with a disease or something. When the spirits of the light come, they can see the disease you have because they see your molecular life. And it's a different way of seeing things from the spirit, as we see them from the matter. From this material world, we see things compacted, but they are not. They really are not. So the same thing happens with our feelings and our emotions, and also the way we give love. Sometimes we are giving love to people, but the love we give is a love that is not fully love, because it's not completely unconditional. So it's a love that do not flow right, and is not able to survive in the heart of the other. I give you an example. Sometimes during Sunday Mass, a priest comes along and reads the gospel. And then the priest brings out a piece of paper for the homily and begins to read from the paper. And it's like a dead homily, right? Not because every homily that is being read from a paper is dead. No, because some priests are very spiritual and profound, and they need little notes, right? They take notes, and it's just the way they do things, and it's holy. But there are others that are not spiritual at all, and they are so empty, and what they do is just copy somebody's homily somewhere, and they read it to you on a Sunday, right? From the pulpit. And then you know those words are dead. You know, they read them and they drop right here. They don't go anywhere. They're almost like what? You know, you're not receiving anything. There's nothing touching you, because it's like a dead sermon. There's nothing there. It's like when someone is talking to you in your family and they don't really care for you at all. And the conversation is dead. It's empty. They just say, well, it's kind of hot today. Yeah. And then the conversation is like that. It's like there's nothing to say, so you just say things, just to say them, but they have no life. And that is being dead. You know, there's no life there. And so that's why when we are aware of oneness with God and understand how important it is to be one with everybody, then we realize how many times we are dead when we are with people. How many times we have no love whatsoever. Because every time that you are exhausted because someone is talking to you and you don't like what they're saying, or you're bored because they are not important to you in your life, you're not loving. So what you're doing is you're wasting your time, you're losing a grace. Because grace is come along when you unconditionally love. That means you don't love because you profit, you love because you love. And that's when you are fed by the Spirit of God. And think about how many chances we lose. How many chances we waste, because the only profitable love that feeds the soul, strengthens your relationship with God, and makes you holier is when you love in spite of it all. You're not expecting to receive anything. You just love, and you have compassion and charity. And that is a very important exercise. We have to understand that people that makes us tired, people that are difficult to deal with, are the ones that are carrying the biggest gifts for us. That's why Jesus taught us, love your enemies. Why was he saying that? Because your enemies are the ones that give you the biggest profit. I give you an example that I always give. A woman is in trouble because she was going to get married and her future husband just dropped her and walked away right before the wedding. So this woman is so upset and disheartened and frustrated and angry. So she decides to become a nun, right? So she goes to a convent and becomes a nun. So she becomes the terror, the horror of the convent, right? Because she goes there to torture every nun inside. And she doesn't want to get out into the world. She hates the world. And she hates everybody. She is ashamed of with her whole family and everything. She's in a scandal in the world and the family. And she made a fool of herself. She can't forgive herself. She doesn't like anybody. She's just mad. She goes to that convent. And then the nuns inside there, the real nuns that have a real vocation, they say, why did God allow this woman to come in here? You know, she has no vocation. How did she sneak in? Why Mother Superior let her in? There's something wrong with the discernment. And if you really look at it, of God's sense of humor, right? God will let that nun in, that fake nun in there, because he's going to sanctify the others, right? That's the one that's going to purify the nuns. Because if every nun is like a little cloud of heaven in there, no one is going to grow spiritually. They're all going to be stuck. They're not going to be able to grow. It's like when mom is spoiling the children so much that the children think there is nobody evil in the world because everything is so good at home, right? And then they go out in the world and the first thing they do, they get slapped by the mailman at the door, right? So you know, we have to be so realistic that those people that are difficult in our lives are the ones that sanctify us. They are an opportunity. When you go to store and the person in charge, the clerk, is abusing you, right? Some people are abusive. You go to buy anything, and they abuse you. They yell at you. They say things, and all. It's an amazing opportunity. See, because usually what you do is, how dare you? Wait a minute, where is the manager, right? Well, it's like, that's the first thing you do. You bring your little institution out there. Hey, by the way, I was offended. Wait a minute, I'm going to file a complaint right here. What is, and that is like our normal human life, a waste, absolute waste. Because if we are spiritual, that will be a treasure. Someone is insulting you, say, thank you, Lord. Oh, see, I needed this because I need to be humble. You know, I need to be humble. I need to be told. You know, I need to say, you're misery, by the way. You are just a wreck. You're just a sinner. Remember, you see, that's why God sent this guy to just abuse you. And then you just say, okay, I'm going to hold it. I'm not going to hate this guy. And it's going to be difficult, I know, but I'm going to pray and say, oh, I forgive him. And everything in me is boiling. I want to shock this person, but I'm working with this. And the more you do that, you see, the more you hold yourself back. And you say, I'm not going to let him get me. I'm going to get him with love. I'm going to do the opposite, right? And you begin this beautiful exercise. It's amazing what it does. Just when you do it right on the spot and you begin, because it's easy to do it later, you know, like, oh, okay, I forgive him, yes. But after you scream at him, you defended your territory, and then you go and confess. I'm sorry, Father, I lost it. You know, I went and he's died. That's not good, you know. That's too late. It's too late. Yes. It's too late. You see, you wasted a beautiful opportunity. So we have to do it on the spot. We have to learn to do it right there. It's like when you have children or brothers and sisters or parents. There is a time to say I love you. There is a time to say forgive me. There is a time. Sometimes it's too late, you know, so you have to do it right on the spot. You have to learn to be on time all the time, because that is the grace. Graces are on time, not off time. Graces are on time. God is always a grace, so be on time with God and you will receive graces. So to be on time with God, you have to be on time with love. That's how you be on time with God. Be on time with love. Make sure you love and you are on time with God. And being on time with God is being in love. And being in love is being with God because God is love. And that is the real sense of direction of our life. To become holy, to become strong, to become a tower of light, to become hope and grace, to become joy for everybody. Because you have the wisdom of God. You don't even have to think anything. It flows through you. It's amazing. The river that flows through you, a river of wisdom and graces and ideas of all kinds, and everybody's enriched by that because you have God in you. And you don't even have to worry about what you're going to say at any time. It's always there in your tongue because your tongue is in God. And you become an instrument of God for real. And that's what is oneness with God. And it's beautiful because every circumstance in life becomes a capital. It's like it's wealth. It's a real treasure. And you feel rich. You feel you carry in a real wealth. Because that real wealth in your life is the love that you carry. That is the real wealth. You know how many people are rich in this world? And every day there are more rich people. They even have magazines telling you how rich they are, you know. That's how the world is becoming. It's like a sport. To be rich is a sport, you know. And they make a worshiping of that. You know, they are in the throne. They have thrones for them. And they have levels of richness and all of that. But if you look at those people that worship money and their thrones and everything, you see very miserable people. You know, they are so empty. And when you meet them personally, you know what they have. They have money. That's what they have. And money is not going to give you what God gives you. Not everybody that has money is evil, but everybody that worships money is evil. So we have to understand what money is about. It's like money is good, but what is wrong is what we do with it. Sometimes we do bad things with money, like worshiping money is bad because that's idolatry. And when money is an idol, money is a god, then you are not worshiping God, you're worshiping a false god. Therefore, you're an idolater, you are not good. You're worshiping evil things. And you're evil because everything that comes to your heart is evil because you're worshiping idols. How could you be good? You couldn't be good. You have no love. You don't have the love of God. I couldn't trust you because I don't know what you're up to, because you could be up to no good all the time because you are worshiping something that is not real. So how could I trust you? It's like when somebody says, I don't believe in God. So I right away say, I don't believe in you either, right? It's like, how could I? There's no way. All I can do is love you and forgive you and pray to the Lord to have mercy on you. But for me to deal with you, I think it's going to be a little difficult because we couldn't have any business together. I couldn't marry you. I couldn't do this because I know who you are. It's like, so now life is very plain, really, when we see life with the eyes of God. It's very plain, very simple. But it's very, very difficult to be simple. You see, it's the biggest challenge. You notice how tricky this life is? You begin to grow up in a civilization like the one we are growing up in. And the only teaching, the main teaching is you have to know everything. You have to learn more, and the ones that know more, get more. That is the goal. The more you know, the more you get. And so everybody wants to know more because everybody wants to get more. So it's like a thirst that will never be quenched. There's no way. It's bottomless. And it's a trap because it's about the opposite. It's about not knowing and knowing God. That is about knowing God and not knowing anything else. Because knowing God, you have everything. And when you know God, then you know what to know. See, because God will lead you to know what He wants you to know. And that is when you know what you are to know. But when you are of the world, you know what you are not to know. Therefore, you don't know anything because you don't know what you are to know. Right? It's true. Absolutely. If you think about it, you are filled with knowledge you're not to have. And that's what the world is about. A bunch of people knowing things they're not supposed to know. So they are all confused. Because they don't know what to do with what they know, because they're not supposed to know it, right? And it's amazing. You see, sometimes you go and sit at somebody's living room with a family, and all these intelligent people are sitting there, and they have diplomas hanging all over the walls, and they begin to talk. And then if you look at it the spiritual, you say, these people know what they're not supposed to know, and they're speaking about something they don't know, therefore they're so confused. And they're making me confused too, because they just have to deliver what they have. And then they constantly letting you know what they know when they really don't know, right? So that's really terrible, because they constantly speaking about that knowledge. And you know, when you have knowledge you're not supposed to have, you're constantly giving it away. It's the most amazing thing. You notice when people are watching news all day long, why do they watch them for? What do you think they have to do? The need they have to go and tell somebody else, right? And the ones they tell that to is those that are watching also. So they all know. They all know what they're not supposed to know, right? And they're confused with something they're not supposed to be confused with, because they weren't supposed to plug into that anyways. They are, see, and the world is like that. The world is just like the merry-go-round of confusion, because people just dive into that river and let themselves be flown by a river that they are not supposed to be flown in. And it's just a mess, because you are constantly confused. That's why you end up depending on other people. And when you depend on other people, then you are confused for real. Because no one has the answers for you. And especially the answers of your own confusion. How could they? They don't know how you got confused, so they don't know how to bring you back. So all they're going to do is get you into a new area of confusion. So you live a new confusion, and you think you're not confused. So that is what happens in this world with all these people that are not with God. So if we are with God, all of that is gone, because you're not anymore pretending. And you're not thirsty anymore for knowledge. You don't have any intention of finding out, because you stop that flow of original sin. You see, original sin is all about dropping ears to try to find out what's there that I don't know. What is there that I'm missing? What am I missing? And that's what leads you to find things you're not supposed to know. Because that is like the occult. That is what New Age is all about. It's about soothing experiences. It's about healing. It's about relaxation. You notice that everything about New Age is like that. It's soothing. It's relaxing. It's healing. What an attractive thing to do. And then when you tell people, sometimes I tell Catholics, hey, why are you practicing these pagan things? Oh, but it's soothing, it's good, it's relaxing. It just brings me into a state of concentration that I pray better. I never prayed better before. And I do it with Father such and such, and with his nun and the other. We are all one. It's part of our religion. And they get really upset, because they don't understand that it's not about a soothing experience. It's not about relaxation and healing. It's about faithfulness. It's about doing what God wants you to do. It's not about feeling good. Because the world is teaching you to feel good, to be relaxed, to have experience of healing and deliverance. All that is popular. You know, I always say, if someone comes to town to deliver you from demons and to heal you, they pack stadiums, because everybody feels sick and possessed. Right? But if someone comes to town to teach you how to be a saint, no one shows up, not even grandma, right? Because they don't care about becoming holy. It's about me being healed, delivered, and someone to give me the answers I need. That's all I want. So, at the end of the day, bunch of pagans. That's what it is. There's no Christianity there. Because if we were real Christians, we would come to find out how to learn more about God, how to find out what's wrong with me, that I don't have the peace and the joy that God promises to those that are faithful to Him. And I appear to be faithful and I don't have joy. There's something wrong. I have to learn a little more about the faith so that I can let go of what is holding me back from being joyful and peaceful and have this presence of God in my heart. So I want to learn more how to tear those walls down and then build myself closer to God. That is the intention of a real Christian heart. It's not about heal me, deliver me, Lord. It's about teach me to know you better. Because if I know you better, you dwell better in me and everything is going to be resolved. If I'm possessed, demons are going to flee. If I'm sick, I might be healed because you might want to heal me. And that is the answer. So the answer is not come and heal me and come and deliver me. The answer is come and let me know you better. And so you could dwell in a larger way in me, and then the more I have of you, the healthier I am, the freer I am. The more of you, the less of demons, the less of all these chains that I have. So the true path of holiness is to find the way to know more about God. And you know, our catechism teaches us that God created us for three reasons. For us to learn to know Him, for us to learn to love Him, and for us to learn to obey Him. Those are the reasons He created us. And if we focus on those three things that are so basic, we are doing fine, because we're doing what He created us for. So what do I want to know? I want to know God better. What do I want to do? I want to learn how to obey Him. And what is in my heart that I have to work on to love Him more every day? And that way we are going to be in the right path completely. So the beginning of that lesson, the very beginning of that lesson, is to work on making an effort to love those we are not able to love. That is the basic rule. Because just doing that, you will grow immensely in God. And God will really begin to dwell in you in a way you never dreamt before. It's not, you see, a lot of people are troubled because they are very religious, but they don't have an inner peace. And they pray a lot, but they don't have an inner peace. And they don't really feel they have faith, even though they practice their faith religiously. And they are troubled. And the reason they are troubled is because they haven't even started to love. And that's why they are troubled. Because they have self-love, and their religion is about themselves. They are religious because they pray to be protected. They pray for things to go well in their lives. They pray for the little intentions they have. They pray for themselves. And then that's all they do. But they don't pray for God to augment the love in their hearts. They don't pray to God for them to know more of God. They don't pray to God for them to learn how to obey God. Those prayers are not there. Therefore, there is no peace in their hearts because they're not walking with God. They're just religious people with no heart. So we have to really wake up and find out where we are. Because the key is learn to love one another. That is, and I know it's an old sermon, but it is important to learn what it means. I have to love those that I cannot love. Because that is the only way I find if I'm loving. Because if I love those that love me, then I don't know what love is. Because I don't know if I'm giving love. Because I'm receiving so much love, it's so easy to correspond with love. And is that love that I'm giving back, or is just an effect of what I receive? So for you to find out if you really love those that you cannot love. Those that are hard to love. Then you know if you really love. It's the only way you find out. Because how will you know if you have love in your heart? When you're able to love those that don't love you. That's the only way. It's like, how will you find generosity in your heart? When you give and you don't expect anything back. That's generosity. Because then you're not expecting a profit. You're just giving. Then it's a generous heart. And you're giving and you are not even thinking about how much you're giving. You're just giving. And that is the true gift. We find in the church, in the Catholic Church today, lots of apostolates. And thanks God we have them to help others. And some people go about their daily jobs, and then the time they have free, they go and join a ministry in the parish or some kind of Catholic mission somewhere. And that makes you feel good. It's a good thing to do. It's part of our faith and part of our militant church. We have to do these things. And those ministries are great opportunities for us to grow in love. At the same time, they could be tricky because they could be just entertainment. They could be something that entertains you and gives you the sense that you are doing something good. Therefore, you are like walking in salvation with God just because you're doing good things. But you are just being entertained. It's just like a passing time. It's like a social life almost. And obviously, being in the church and in the community of the church is a social life. Obviously, because the social life is sharing with one another our daily life and our life at a given moment. But when I say social life, is when it is all it is, when people are just looking for company and for entertainment. You know that this is a society, a consume society. We consume things. And sometimes we consume people. That means people are like objects. We use them for company. We use them for entertainment. And when we are just entertained enough, we just drop them. And we leave, we walk away. We go back to our little island. And so there is an opportunity, a great opportunity in those ministries, as long as we do them with the love that is unconditional, and we come to give because we know it's good to give and we feel that we want to give. And that is what we're doing. So we don't get exhausted. We don't get tired of the people we work with, because it's not about how good they are to me and how kind and how great it is to be among them, because everybody is so respectful and so loving and so harmonious, and it's great to be in this ministry. It's not, because that would be only social. That would be like selecting a club where everybody's kind and everybody's good to me. And that is the wrong reasons to be somewhere. Because it's not about being in a great place where everybody's good to me. It's about being in a place where I'm serving God. It's not about being in a place where everybody's kind. It's about being in a place where I'm doing something good for people and serving the church and serving the Lord. And that makes a difference. Because a lot of people select ministries according to the people they want to deal with. And that's why they never get to serve what they are supposed to serve. They are not in the right place. They are in their own little place, the place they selected for themselves, and not for the ministry. Because the ministry is about serving wherever is need, not wherever you think you're going to have a good time, not where you think you're going to be comfortable and it's pleasing and entertaining for you at the same time that you give. And some people say that. It's good to be there because people are so good, so kind, so harmonious, and at the same time I do something good. So the most important thing was how pleasant it was. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have a good, harmonious group. How great it is when you have a group of people that love one another and understand one another and works in harmony. That is the name of the love of God. It's great, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Some people find the church as an entertainment. Some people are in ministries because they have nothing else better to do. And they find that as escape, as something to do. And on top of that, it's religious, and it's sort of good. And it seems like it's goodness, but it's for the wrong reasons. And that's why we have to learn how is it that we are giving love, and how is it that we are going about learning how to love God and how to know God better. So I would say, as a conclusion of this moment of reflection, I would say the best exercise we can do to find out if we are really growing in the love of God in our hearts is to look around in our lives and find out how many people around us we don't like and we are not able to relate to and to deal with. You see, that will be a good test, because then you know how you're doing. See, if there are a lot of people unplugged from your life because you can't bear them, because they are too difficult and you're not able to love them, then you have to really reflect upon your relationship with God and know what is it that you're doing with your life. Because maybe you have many areas blocked and you are a clogged cell of the body of the Lord. And then the love of God is not flowing through you. You're stuck because you have a selection. You only love those that you love because of convenience. Those that make you feel good. Those that love you back. And that will be not a good sight, because if you die today like that, it's not going to be good. You're going to have a lot of problems. And you don't want to have those problems, because those problems have no solution. See, those are problems that you're going to have to pull gate, and it's going to be very painful. And so today, the Lord is so merciful that He wants to let you know that there are things you can do now and change them right away, because that will be for your great benefit. Because then you're not going to be in trouble. at the end of this life. That could be today. So today the Lord is calling us, and we should not harden our hearts. We should open up and be sincere and say, how many people do I dislike? And a lot of people maybe I dislike because they don't like me. And some I dislike because they hurt me. Some I dislike just because I don't like them. And so many other reasons. But I do dislike some people. And those people I have to straighten up in my heart. Some people you probably cannot see because they're probably out of reach. And some probably die already. I don't know. But you can always straighten your heart. Your heart. Because that's where your home is. Your heart. As long as you clean in your heart. As long as your heart is with God. And your accounts with God are clean and straight. You are in good shape. If you have a chance to see face to face those people, then better. Because then you can straighten your account with them. And sometimes you don't even have to tell them much. Just by being there and loving them and being kind, they know that you are okay with them. Sometimes words are not necessary. Because sometimes you say, there are people that if you tell them forgive me and do this, they probably hate you more, you know. Because pride is terrible. You know, pride is like a poison. And people that are built in pride, they hate humbleness. And if you come and be humble before someone, they will probably kick you. You know, they don't know what they're going to do. Because that's how pride is. But you don't have to say anything. Sometimes. Some people you have to tell them. Because it will be important. It's like you offended your mother. You better tell her, right? You better ask forgiveness from your mother. Because that is a commandment. You have to honor your mother and your father. And you have to fulfill that commandment for real. If you offended somebody that is so proudful that you know that if you ask them for forgiveness, they're going to hate you and it's going to make it worse, then you have to be astute, as the gospel says. Astute. And then go and say, and just be kind and loving and forgiving to that person. And let that person know that you have nothing against that person. So that person in their heart know that you love them. That's it. That's enough. Because God knows that you forgave them. God knows that you went there with the right intention. And that's all you want to do. But you're astute enough to know that you should not say anything. So those things work. It's an economy. And it works perfect. So it's very important to straighten those accounts with God. Because otherwise, it's not good to continue living like that. You don't want to let things just like that in the dark. Don't let people just outside your heart. Because if you die like that, whoever is outside your heart and you on purpose let them outside your heart, that's going to cost you a lot. Because everybody should be in your heart in order for you to make it into the kingdom. No way you could enter the kingdom of God if God finds you at the foot of his tribunal and finds you with people outside your heart. He's going to tell you, what are they doing there? They're supposed to be here with you. Why do you leave them there? So that's going to be enough for you not to enter. So that's why today we are to bring everybody into our hearts. Bring them in and let them be part of you. Unite yourself with everyone in your heart and make an effort. And if you cannot, go on your knees and beg the Lord to give you that grace, because that is like doing it. See, some things are difficult, but as long as we are aware that that's what we have to do, then God knows what we want. And if we are not able to make it during this life, but that's all we want to achieve during this life, at the end of this life, the Lord will complete us, because he knows that's all we wanted. And he will give it to us, because maybe he will purify us by us longing to achieve that. And that is a way of purifying ourselves. Sometimes the Lord's pedagogy is so sophisticated in that sense that we are not able to just get it right now. But that will purify us, because we're longing that so much to achieve it. And so the important thing is to know what we need and what we want in order to get better, to be closer to God, to receive more of the love of God, and to be one with everybody, one with God. And that is the key. So that will bring the real healing, the real deliverance, the real joy, the real peace, and the real faithfulness to God. Because I tell you, today, with all this floating Christianity we have, the Christianity of wonders and miracles, a lot of people are healed and delivered. But you know what for? for them to go back to do what they were doing when they got possessed and sick. That's what they do. They go into the healer and go back into the world. That's because there is no conversion. They come to be healed and live. And it's not about that. It's not about shopping miracles and healings. It's about understanding what we really have to do. We have to change. And we have to let go of a lot of things we're doing. And bring in the goods of God into our life. And the goods of God into our life is that particular discipline where we know we have to love unconditionally. Everybody. Especially our enemies. Especially those that don't love us. Because that is the only way we with certainty will know that we really have love. Because otherwise, there's no way you can test your love. It's the only way is to love that you cannot love, and then you know you have love. And that is great to have. I'm going to ask the Lord to give us His words to conclude this reflection. And I read to you from the letter of St. Paul to the Hebrews, chapter 8, from versicle 1 on. A new sanctuary and a new covenant. The main point of what we are saying is that we have a high priest. He is seated at the right hand of the divine majesty in heaven, where he serves as minister of the true temple and sanctuary, set up not by any mortal, but by the Lord. A high priest is appointed to offer to God gifts and sacrifices. And Jesus also has to offer some sacrifice. Had he remained on earth, he will not be a priest, since others offer the gifts according to the law. In fact, the ritual celebrated by those priests is only an imitation and shadow of the supernatural ritual. We know the word of God to Moses with regard to the construction of the holy tent. He said, "You are to make everything according to the pattern shown to you on the mountain." Now, however, Jesus enjoys a much higher ministry in being the mediator of a better covenant, founded on better promises. If all had been perfect in the first covenant, there would have been no need for another one. Yet God sees defects when He says, "The days are coming," it is the word of the Lord, "when I will draw up a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant that I made with their ancestors on the day I took them by the hand and led them out of Egypt. They did not keep my covenant, and so I myself have forsaken them, says the Lord. But this is the covenant that I will make with the people of Israel in the days to come. I will put my laws into their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. None of them will have to teach one another or say to each other, 'Know the Lord,' for they will know me from the least to the greatest. I will forgive their sins and no longer remember their wrongs." Here we are being told of a new covenant, which means that the first one had become obsolete, and what is obsolete and aging is soon to disappear. So we praise the Lord for His word and for His teachings, and for the opportunity of us having a moment of being one. And we beg the Lord to keep us one, so that we can really in this oneness of God be healed with His love and heal one another. Amen.